Turn It On, the Level 42 fan podcast, is in no way affiliated with the band. The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed are solely the speaker's own.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to Turn It On, the Level 42 fan podcast. We are here with our typical trio from here in the U.S., here to talk the time away with all things Level 42. I'm Bob Considine here with the convivial Mr. Mikey Payne and the sometimes contrarian Mr. Winston M. Walker, windman with many faces and many names. Hello, gentlemen. Welcome. How are you?
Howdy.
Hello.
Oh, great. How you guys?
The energy.
I'm tired as hell.
Guys, it's very good to be back before we get into our main discussion today, which is on the 40th anniversary of the Level 42 career-defining World Machine album. I wanted to take a quick temperature on what you're listening to lately, level or not. Maybe a song you rediscovered. Something. Give me something. Mikey.
Level 42 related, since it was Boone's birthday yesterday. So happy birthday, Boone. Phil just had a birthday. Happy birthday, Phil. And I think by the time this drops, it's Mike Lindup's birthday. So happy birthday, Mike Lindup.
Everybody's getting born.
Excuse me. So I was listening to some tunes that Boone put together. I think they were in the early 2000s, but hopefully someone will educate me in the comments below on when those actually were. But they were great to listen to. And again, so much talent with Boone. And I just wish he really realized how much people really loved him. And it's a shame he's not still with us. And also, a really good friend of the podcast sent me a Level 42 thing for 42 FM, and it was Level 42's rehearsal of the Staring at the Sun tour.
That's very interesting you say that, Mikey, because that was one of the things I was going to list. So get in.
All right. Yeah, good, great, honest friend of the podcast shared that with me, and went up on 42 FM, and I think it's almost hit 1,000 views already.
Yeah,
on it. So that was great to listen to. And again, what just a powerhouse lineup.
It really is.
That could have been. But non-Level 42 related, I have to say a band that I follow called The Midnight, which some of you out there may know. They just released a new single called Love on the Ocean, I think it's called.
Is that good?
It's really good. It's really good. It's brand new. I'm still trying to learn the name. So that's what I've been listening to, and that's about it.
That's great. What about you, Win?
It just occurred to me, I did listen to something today that I hadn't listened to in a while, Level 42 related, but I'll save it because it does tie into our main topic. But
Good.
I've been listening to a lot of Prince lately. Oh, Prince is like one of my favorite artists of all time, definitely in my top 3. But I kind of went an offshoot. His original bass player, Andre Simone, had dropped a couple of albums in the 80s.
Okay.
I think 82, Living in the New Wave, and 2 more albums. Really good stuff, but I mean, kind of niche. If you were a Prince fan, you might have gotten into it.
Right.
But he kind of really made his name after that by doing a lot of producing.
Okay.
Jody Watley and all.
Was he a
stuff.
singer too, Win, or is it?
Well, he sang, yeah, but he sang background on the Prince's live and the records, but he was mainly the bass player. But I think on his records, he played almost everything,
Really? Sometimes I always think that Prince was playing the bass on a lot of his recordings.
He did play a lot of the instruments on his early stuff, and then eventually, when it got to the Revolution, the band was playing a lot more stuff. But he wrote, Andre actually co-wrote a lot of sort of big Prince tunes.
No kidding.
Because I think, eventually when Prince got really popular, it started coming out that, because the record company was promoting like, oh, he wrote everything and he played everything. And then turns out, well, Dr. Fink played the synth solo on this song and, blah, blah, blah. And Morris Day wrote a song or two. Andre Simone wrote a song or two.
Right.
I think
Next, you're going to tell me that Sheena Easton co-wrote Sugar Walls.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe she wrote the lyrics. Who knows? That was a big one.
That song's not about the inside of a house, if you know what I'm saying.
He made her naughty.
You all right, Mikey? I think Mikey's got his mute on and he's laughing hard, so that's a good sign.
There we go. I'm all right now. I can breathe.
Yeah.
Very mature.
And the producer just handed me, it is Love is an Ocean, the new single by The Midnight. So
Okay, good.
Thank you, producers.
Let's check it out. For me, every year I go through a Genesis phase where I just load up on Genesis for like 2 weeks. And so I've been doing that. But on the level front, Mikey, you had mentioned the Staring at the Sun tour rehearsals, which was from Amsterdam in 1988. Great, awesome. And that lineup, I don't think we talk about it enough of just how great it was. Because, it's not the original, blah, blah, blah. Maybe Staring at the Sun wasn't everybody's favorite album, but it's just a killer band. And there's not that many great audio recordings, I don't think, of that band.
Well, they did release that one official live CD.
Yeah, I didn't think that sounded that great. Though.
Which is weird that like that didn't get spread around to 18 different labels. You know how they do the greatest hits stuff or other things like the DVDs. That would be a good one to
But I always thought that,
I don't recall it not sounding good.
I thought that concert was from a radio show, that official release.
Oh, I really don't know the source of it. That's a good question.
Yeah, I think
I don't remember it sounding bad, though.
It's a little weak for me.
But, it could have been at the time like, oh, I was just so happy to get something from that tour that was like, whatever, But, I remember the artwork and everything being really nice, so. Huh.
And the other one I've listened to, somebody recently posted a remix that I used to love, and I completely forgot about it, which is the New Avengers remix of Guaranteed.
Oh, yeah.
And that's really
really
basic.
No, I'm just kidding.
It's a different bass line altogether. You got all these stab horns in the chorus, and you don't hear them in the original. And there's a little jazz flute solo by Ron Burgundy in the middle there, and it's I really do like it. Very different and interesting listen.
That is wow. I haven't listened to that, and one of those remixes was like, nah, not for me, and I probably never revisited it. So now I should. It's
really different when it's like a different song, and it's not in a way like, they threw a song in a blender and it came out this way. It's different. The bass line is completely different.
Yeah, it's always weird when they do those remixes where it's like the DJ like adds instruments and stuff, or maybe there was something there that we never heard on the record. They just brought it up. But
yeah, I think that might be it because the bass does sound like Mark, but it's just a different bass line. And
I got something else. It just occurred to me the other day. Huh?
You must be blind.
Yeah, I see what I said there. So in one of our chats, JJ posted someone 4K remastered the Nick Kershaw 84 live video. And I'm a huge Nick Kershaw fan. And I bought that VHS tape. I imported it from some record shop in England, and then I had it converted. And I love that show, and it looks really, really good. So I guess someone posted it on YouTube.
That's great. I got to check that out too.
It's like one of those gigs where it's pretty much doing the whole damn album,
Well, speaking of the whole damn album, I think we should get on to World Machine because we've talked about doing the show for about a year now, waiting for the 40-year anniversary. It was released 40 years ago this year. I think it was September, October. But it's being commemorated, as you guys know, by a very highly anticipated and well sold out tour. World Machine was produced by Wally Badarou, our recent guest. reached number 3 on the UK album charts. Something About You hit number 6 in the UK, and Leaving Me Now actually hit 15. And of course, in the US, it's What Broke the Band. Something About You hit number 7 in the Billboard Hot 100. And of course, it's the band's highest charting single here. I want to ask you guys a trivia question before we get into this. How many weeks do you think, no peeking on the internet, the World Machine spent in the top 100 in the UK?
No idea.
The album?
Yep.
World Machine?
You got to guess, Win.
42. Thank you. I'll be here all week.
How many weeks? I'll say 25 weeks.
And when you said 42?
I did.
72 weeks.
Wow.
Wow. Wow.
So I think that kind of speaks to the strength of this album. You know, we do know the story has long been told about World Machine, and very much a change in direction for the band in terms of songwriting, and yes, to appeal to a larger audience, heaven forbid. And we know this direction kind of marked a bit of a divide between Mark King and Phil Gould, and kind of put the, I guess you could say, put the original lineup on borrowed time a little bit. But rather than get into what was going on behind the scenes, I really wanted to talk about what your overall reflection of the album is musically, and then we'll get into the song. So I'll start with you, Win, on this.
So I think the album was October 85, Something About You, maybe September. But it just occurred to me in my mind, I feel like it's a summer album because I distinctly remember getting the album and I went to visit my buddies in Delaware, and we were driving from Delaware to DC to go to like this big music shop was having a sale. And we, it's like, oh, I got the new album, guys. And, but so that's weird. But I didn't like the album at first because it wasn't what I wanted.
Right.
Like, where's my instrumental?
Right.
Not that the previous album had an instrumental on it. So it's just kind of jarring, like, ooh, okay. But at the same time, I quickly realized, like, damn, these are really, really good songs.
They're good songs.
Especially Something About You. Like, I that's another song that I don't get tired of hearing. It's
amazing, isn't it?
Really, really so damn good. But I quickly, threw out the window it's not, I want them to be doing this. And it's like, at the end of the day, I kind of want them to just be doing good songs. And this album is just, for me, there's not a bad song on it.
Yep.
It'll be hard pressed if, what's your top 3 from this album? Yeah, I could do it, but it would be like, but when people ask you to name a number of something, you're like, okay, it's this, and this. But I also want to put that one, you can't help but break that rule. And then there's especially like tracks that weren't released as a single. I'm like, oh damn! Like I feel like that could have, all fans, this should have been a single, or that could have been a hit.
What's
but
funny,
man, there's just a ton of solid songs on this album. Like
I saw in a couple of reviews, we're going to get into each song, but like in 2 reviews, people said the single that should have been, obviously, as I'm drawing a blank on the title, Good Man in a Storm. They always say that should have been the single or a single.
Yeah.
Now, Mikey, I think you're like me. I think we got introduced to Level 42 by World Machine, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So how was that for you?
Well, I think the first Level 42 song I ever heard was the Sun Goes Down, because my dad used to do the scat, and it used to make me laugh. And I believe I'd heard Hot Water.
That's great.
See, I'm trying to go back. It's all these years now. But the first time I heard Something About You, I was living just outside of Chicago, still in high school. And Something About You came over the radio at a fast food burger joint that I was working at. Mm-hmm. And they said it was the new song by Level 42. And I was like, kind of like, I didn't at this point weren't aware of their origins or the instrumental part of the band. So what I had heard had kind of been poppy and pop, and so it didn't seem like such a jump for me. But again, something about you being the first song that I heard off the forthcoming album, it was just it's like one of those songs like "Aha, Take on Me" or Michael Jackson, Billie Jean, or it had some gravity to it.
Yeah.
And that sparked my and many other people's, I think, journey of where's their back catalog? What else have they got? And try to find, I think I was in Decatur, Illinois, actually. I don't know. I have to think back, but there weren't many record stores there.
Right.
But again, like Win said, I don't think I could pick my favorite 3 songs from this album. It's one of those albums that I can hit play and I'll listen to every single track. There's very few albums that happens with me with.
Yep.
But this is definitely one of them. And I know we'll get to talking about it here down the road too, but it'll be interesting, because there's a US version of this album.
Yeah.
And there's a UK version of this album.
Yeah.
So
I want to get into that.
So fans can have sort of a different opinion of this album based on the album that was released in their country.
Yeah, and if you're in the U.S. and you like the U.S. version, then you're totally wrong. It's not the best version. But that's a whole other story.
Well, I've told the story before with you guys about how I was introduced to Level 42 via World Machine through Something About You, junior prom. It comes on. I'm like, my God, this song is great. Hear it on the radio. Eventually, I see it on MTV. Then Hot Water's on MTV, and that's what really actually made me buy the album. And then, so now I'm summer. It's funny you say when. For me, it was a summer album because I really only heard it in the summer. It was a hit in the spring here of '86, and then it played all summer. But you think about your high school years, right? Junior, senior year, those are pretty big years, and what is your soundtrack? And for me, that was it. And I can just remember hearing it, just going through the album as an album on cassette, just nonstop for like a year straight. And then you, like, as Mikey said, you get into the back catalog, you want to discover more about this band. But what's interesting is I had immersed myself in this album so much when it first came out that I really haven't done. I'm going to listen to World Machine top to bottom probably since then. And, I kind of did it for this podcast, and I'm like, this album is completely amazing. I mean, it's the strength of the songs and not just the songs, but the sound quality. It's dynamic and punchy, but it's not antiseptic. There's actually a warmth to it, particularly on songs like Lying Still. We're going to be fortunate to have Julian Mendelson on soon to talk about that, the engineer of that album. And I can't wait to talk to him about that. But as you guys said, we're going to get into the UK versus the US album, but it is top to bottom, no matter what version it is, the songs are so strong that it's amazing that it was mission accomplished as far as I was concerned. They had a direction. They weren't going into the studio to jam and come up with melody lines over what they jammed. They went in with demoed songs. And then, of course, they worked on them. There was, obviously, I think with the mixing stage, we've heard the stories about, Phil was kind of pushed out to simplify the process, I guess, a little bit, and to make it so they're not in there forever mixing this thing, which a lot of bands succumb to. But it is just amazing album. I'll say, before we get into the songs, I was... Back in January, I knew we were going to be talking about this, and it was online, it was on social media. And somebody had posted on, I think it was Twitter or X. Wow, these 4 albums are 40 years old this year. And the 4 albums they put were songs.
Don't say it.
Songs of the Big Chair by Tears for Fears, Brothers in Arms by Dire Straits, Dream of the Blue Turtles by Sting, and they put World Machine. And
Great albums.
So they put those 4 albums together, and I just wanted to read the comments, and like, I was so pleased to see among those massive albums that they were getting equal play from in the comments. Like, don't sleep on this album by Level 42. It held its own, you know. So it was like, good job, boys.
Yeah. And this album, launched them around the world.
Yep.
There was no turning back after this album.
Globally. Let's get into the songs a little bit because I've been yapping.
Yeah.
You know, I do gravitate to the US version because that's what I grew up on, right? And so when I see the UK version, I do get that the songs are stronger. But I like the way I like how the US version actually starts with Something About You and not World Machine. Like,
That's smart. That's smart.
Yeah. Like when I hear the UK version and Something About You's third, it doesn't work for me.
It's weird. It's like the mind trick of listening. Because I told the story before, when I got the Standing in Light album, I was in Saudi Arabia, but it was a bootleg, and they reversed the sides. So for me, that album in my mind, it always opens with Standing in the Light.
Yeah.
That rise, and so then when I got back home, I've bought the official copy of the album. I'm like, oh, they flipped it. Like, this is not right,
So it actually started with Standing in the Light?
Yes, because that would be side B.
Yeah, but side B I thought started with, No, what was after Dance on Heavy Weathers? I forget.
A Pharaoh's Dream of Endless Time?
Yeah, I thought that was the first song on side two.
Well, then maybe they just, tape wise, because it was all cassettes. You remember that, Mikey? You go to the 747 store, and there was all bootleg cassettes.
20 of them for $1.
Yeah, it was like crazy. And so, so it looks like the first 5. So on the album, track 6 is Standing in the Light. So that's probably where they cut it for time on the cassette,
Right.
So that's how it started. It was like Standing in the Light, I Want Eyes, People. It's a great song. The Machine Stops. Then it goes to Micro Kid, Sun Goes Down.
That's crazy.
I know. So it's like, and it's like one of those things, like you haven't heard an album in 20 years and you listen to it again, an album that you listen to a lot, and the first song ends and immediately you know what the next song is going to be.
Yeah.
Because it's like that musical memory muscle or something. I don't know. But
the US version is the first version of the album that I heard. But after years later getting the UK version of that album, after hearing the UK version, the song, the way it was done, track listed, I was not angry. That's a dumb word. I was like, why didn't they just keep it the same? Because if I listen to World Machine album, it's the UK version I listen to. Mm-hmm. When they do reissues, it's not the US version that's released, it's the UK version that's released.
Yeah.
Right.
I love that transition personally, from World Machine to Physical Presence and then Something About You.
Okay.
It'd be, hopefully we do get to talk to Julian. Be interesting to hear his opinion on how the US release changed his kind of mastering strategy of that album.
Strategery.
There we go. But yeah, I mean, it's petty. It's still a great album, no matter which version you have. But it's a shame there were some tracks that some people missed for a while.
Yeah,
they were obviously wanting to break the band in America and like, oh well, let's make this sort of a greatest hits kind of thing. Give them songs that were proven hits in other territories, put it on this album.
I get it. I get it. Yeah.
But that was back in the day too. Like you'd go to Tower and they would have the parallel import, they'd have the import as well.
Right.
So you could get it in, big record shops. You could get the US version, but you could also get that import of the original version.
I must have missed the Tower Records branch in Decatur, Illinois.
I ain't everywhere, but
Yeah, if Tower didn't have it, you just go down to, Bleecker Bob's or whatever the other stores down there off West 4th. Part of me wants to start at something about you, but I kind of wonder what hasn't already been said about it. I'll say this. I'm amazed and quite surprised, pleased, I should say, about how much that song is loved by the general public here 40 years later.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, people love that song, and if you see comments by even non-Level 42 fans are like, I love that song. Really saw that during when Level 42 just did the Sands in Mexico, and there were a bunch of 80s fans, and not necessarily Level 42 fans, and how much people talked about loving that song. So
yeah, it's one of those. Oh, I didn't know that was them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's a song that stands the test of time. Probably.
Also, the late, great Taylor Hawkins.
Yeah, Taylor Hawkins loved that song.
Yeah, because, Mark came over to, L.A. and played it live.
That's right.
Yeah.
For the Taylor tribute show.
Mm-hmm. And I love the video.
Yeah.
The video rocks.
It's a good video.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't like the video at first either, because
No, you didn't.
not having seen the band live a lot, I kind of wanted a live performance.
Mm.
Yeah.
But it's a pretty damn cool video. So it's just me being, a sort of a jackass about it. Like, oh, I want, I want to see them.
Doesn't really introduce the band to being the musos that they are, right? It's a conceptual video. And
True.
Right. And then that's really not the song if you're trying to say, oh, look at how talented these guys are.
Right.
That's not the flashy, them going crazy on all the instruments song either, other than the fact that one of the best guitar solos ever, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, yeah.
I remember being in Delaware one time. We were having a party at someone's house. And then, it got dark. We're outside. Somebody lights a bonfire. They play that song. And everyone starts singing the guitar solo.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, we kind of looked at each other, the guys that were in my band at the time, like, oh, shit, like everybody knows this song, It was pretty cool because it was pretty popular at the time. So this is probably 85, 86, something like that. But that was very cool,
Yeah.
It's like a guitar solo. I feel like it's not flashy or anything. Like I could play that if I knew how to play the guitar barely, You know what I'm saying? That makes sense?
That's a hard solo, particularly at the end.
Yeah, but I'm not a guitar. I don't know, but yeah, at the end, definitely. Mm-hmm. But when it starts, it's not, it's not like all the hammer on tappy stuff that was going on at the time,
it's not, he's not a shredder in that one, but
right. But it's just it's so cool. Like I was thinking about that today. Like, oh, that's still such a cool guitar solo.
It is, and there's towards the end of the solo, there's two melody lines going on at the same time. I think double tracked, and it's very cool what he did in that. Boom is kind of the MVP of that song by the end because they were looking for something a little extra. I think if I'm remembering correctly, they were Boone's lyrics, but not originally. They were Phil's lyrics. He had a different set of lyrics. So
yeah,
I was just going to say just what you had said, Mikey, about how underrated Boone was in this whole situation, And Wally talked about that the last time we talked,
What did you guys think of the remixes for Something About You? Mainly the SISA mix.
That's my favorite.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I shouldn't say this because we've actually talked about maybe having Shep Pettibone on one of our episodes, but that's not my favorite because I'm not into the scratching. It's very of its day. CISA mix is good. I like the instrumental mix, you know. That's kind of one. I like the fact that they have the rap in it.
Yeah, CISA has that too.
Yeah.
I for me, like Shep Pettibone is one of the goats of remixes, but all his remixes aren't like that.
Yeah.
So I wasn't if I was in the club dancing, give me that.
Yeah.
But for listening, I always like that CISA. What does that stand for?
I don't even know.
Do we even know? Does it stand for anything? I don't know. But I prefer that mix over any of the other ones. I do like his World Machine mixes, the dub version,
too.
So which really oddly, apparently it only got a U.S. release, the 12-inch single of that.
Wasn't the Something About You Gold CDV format? Wasn't that one of the earliest CDVs that was released? Was Something About You?
There wasn't a ton of them, I feel like.
Yeah, they were in that first group that Polydor released, because I had those.
I had one for a while.
Yeah.
I think I had one for It's Over, believe it or not.
Yeah, Level had a few of them, and they played in my Laserdisc player, but,
War Machine, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go, that's my favorite album. My favorite song on the album.
Right.
And then you're going to come up to Good Man in the Storm. I'm going to go, that's my favorite song on the album. No, War Machine is one of my favorites. It's probably a top 10 song for me from the band, period. Love the end of it. Love the end of War Machine. Great groove, great drums. To me, that's a signature song off a signature album.
Yeah, it's a good, like we were talking about, why not start the album like the U.S. version with Something About You, but that's a good opener.
It is.
I can see
a nice
that.
groove.
I think it's because I was just so used to hearing Something About You first,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I totally get that. And then again, I guess maybe they started because that's the name of the album. I'm always curious too, and maybe we can get someone to expand on this, like how they come up with the sequencing of the songs. Does the band super involved? Was Julian or Wally or anyone else like, this sounds, do you take it home and listen to it a few times and try different variations? But that's a good opener.
Yeah.
Damn good song.
It is a good song, and I'm glad that it still is a regular in their set.
Great guitar.
Because they've always, I've loved how they've always traded off instruments at the end on the live versions, whether it's a sax and a guitar, or later on it's been a trombone. For solos, it's a great vehicle for the band. I want to jump to physical presence and not a physical presence, because as we know, Phil is not happy about the when he got the album.
That's very interesting that they messed with the title of the song.
Yeah. Poor Phil. He's an artist, and what is the big deal about putting the title as he wrote it,
It wouldn't seem like who would care, but
Right.
maybe it's someone bean counter wanting to have some sort of control or something. Somebody got the idea.
It could have been, they had the live album, which was called A Physical Presence before that. Maybe
Right.
they were trying to not confuse anyone.
Yeah.
That's weird.
It's silly.
For my part, that song is very underrated. I think it is sometimes a little too long. You're approaching 6 minutes by the end of that song. But as Phil had noted in the most recent box set about that song, you hear everyone. Everyone has a special place in that song. Mark's bass is mic'd perfectly on that song. Phil's hi-hat accents, his drum fills are great. That's maybe the most time you're hearing that gated sound that you might even hear of a Phil Collins drum set. You're hearing that on that particularly on the snare sounds. And Boone's guitar. I mean, it's a very clean song. Like there's space in it, almost like a Police song, and I think that's an underrated track.
I love, and I've said this before, the live version of that from Live at Wembley. Love the album version too, just as much.
Yeah.
But that song, for some reason, that Wembley version of that song, I think just took that song, excuse the pun, to another level for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you make of that song, Win?
I love it. It's good live. It's good. It sort of feels like when I first heard it, like it should be a live song. But it still works.
Yeah.
Just the studio recording of it. Because everything's there in the album version. I mean, it's good song, good interplay.
And I forgot to mention even the keyboard motif. It's very catchy.
It's like that, but in tune.
Yeah. But what I remember about that is you kind of know that melody line the first time you hear it. Like, try getting it out of your head. You can't.
That's just Phil and Mark, huh?
Yeah, they co-wrote that, and same for Good Man in the Storm. I think those were the only writers on that. And maybe
the somewhat instrumental coup d'etat,
right?
You know, which I always love that song too. I like all of them, but we'll go down the line. But yeah, that's a good song. I mean, that's just freak, man. That album just kind of rolls.
I'm going to ask you guys when we're done, if you had to axe one song off that album, what would it be? You have to.
Oh man!
And you're not allowed to say Hot Water or Chant Has Begun.
That was my out. Good. I guess I could do that.
Okay.
So we're back to Something About You, I guess.
No.
Because we kind of started talking about that first, but that's the next song on the album.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
There's no way you could take that song off the album.
Okay.
No way.
I think we've said enough about Something About You. It's like I said, it's a signature song of the entire decade, not just their catalog.
Yeah, that's the song that when friends find out that's my favorite band and they don't know who Level 42 is, and I go, I play that song, they go, oh, I know that.
Yep.
No one that I've ever
and I like them
played that doesn't know that song.
Yeah.
Like, which is kind of cool, you know.
Leaving You Now.
Other classic.
Mike's going to tell me a personal story about what that song meant to him. Go ahead, Mike. You're on.
Holy Grail. I love ballads. This one I love it was just a heartfelt ballad. And in that time and space in the 80s, those were fun. For me, what I love the most about that song is the piano solo at the end, and the instrumentation of that song. And again, video-wise, at least you got to see them play instruments in that video.
Yeah.
A little studio setting. I love that.
But the other thing is, I think we talked about it, on the album version for Leaving Me Now. But when they played it live, they transposed it down about 2 notes, I think, to play it live. And it's one of the few songs that Levels had to do that with. But great vocals from Mark. I think we talked about that on the Great Vocals episode that we did.
Yep. That's right.
Fantastic. And I agree with you, Bob. I think you said something in a past episode about the live Mark. They did about 10 years ago a live version of that when they just started out with Mark singing and Mike playing.
Yep.
And I like that version too.
That's a Sirens tour.
Yeah. Um, and was it Mike said that he thought that would be a bigger song?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he was down on the. It seems their two big ballads were songs about relationships ending. They were not happy songs,
Yeah. Yeah.
Great harmonies on that song.
Yeah, for me,
Oh, yeah.
I was going to say that too. When the coupling of their vocals,
Yeah.
I had a friend who was very much into, I would say, the darker side of alternative music, which was very hip in the '80s. Your Jesus, Mary Chains, and stuff like that. And he was not a Level 42 fan, but when he heard that song, he's like, that's a great song,
Oh.
And I thought it always struck with me that he was like, that was the one that got him.
Well, you did say darker side, and that's sort of that's a very sad one.
It is. Nobody's using that for their wedding song. Let's put it that way.
Oh gosh, no.
Yeah, that would be funny.
We'll go back to the UK version now. I Sleep on My Heart.
That is one of my favorites.
Is that
If Something About You wasn't on this album, that would be my favorite song on the album.
No kidding.
I love that song musically. I love the remixes.
Mm-hmm.
I like lyrically what it's saying.
Yep.
Yeah. And when they, I love it. You guys start talking about it.
I love the
Yeah.
bass line on
Yeah.
that song.
Yeah, it was one of those songs that was not on the U.S. release.
Right.
Shame. I agree with Win. Fantastic track. I love the instrumental of that too.
Mm-hmm.
And the remix is probably one of my top 5 remixes of a Level 42 song.
Yeah.
Is I Sleep on My Heart. And Mark King surprised us with it live back 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Love that.
And I was with you guys, I think, hearing that.
Yeah.
And that sounded fantastic live. His version of it.
And, we touched on this tour. I mean, they're going to play all this stuff again.
I know.
Yeah, that's interesting because we got to see, we didn't get to hear that originally live.
Mm-hmm.
So to hear that whole album, and are they going to do it in order? Did we ask them like that? Like, that's going to be interesting. Like,
I think when they did the Running in the Family, I think they did do it in order, but I'm not
yeah,
positive.
makes sense. But that's going to be so weird, not weird, but awesome live because, like I said, you'll listen to this album and you know what's coming up next,
Mm-hmm.
and then they do it in that order.
Well, what's weird is you're used to hearing Something About You at the very end of a show.
Right.
Now you're getting it third.
That's the closer. Yeah.
And if you're not a hardcore fan, you're the casual, you want to hear that song after the third song, you might be going like, how much time?
I remember
Gonna miss
Mark
the bus.
in an interview saying that when they were doing that tour of America, that the promoters wanted them to like open with Something About You and then play in the middle, then close with
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
right? Like, so yeah, I could listen. Yeah, now I'm gonna have to revisit the remix of "Sleep in My Heart," especially that instrumental version.
I think
they bring up the guitar parts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you got the dual again harmony guitars. I get why Mikey said it's his top 5 remix because the way it does unfold, it fades up.
And you have that nice drum fill, and then it starts over.
Yeah, I mentioned the gated drums on Physical Presence. There's gated drums on that too.
Is that his name? The guy Hugh Padgham?
Hugh Padgham, right?
Yeah, he's the guy who started that whole thing.
Yeah. All right, so I'm gonna say this one. It's not the same for us.
Mm-hmm.
For me, if I had to cut one that was not on the US version, I would regretfully pick that one. It's not that I don't like the song. It's just something's got to be last. That would
Something's
be
got to go. Right? Well, I like the song, but yeah, it wouldn't make my top 5. But it's always weird because it's like, okay, it's not my favorite. Wouldn't make my top, but it's not bad. It's not. I don't feel like it's a bad song.
No,
it's not the 8.
That at all.
I think the chorus of the song is fantastic. The chorus section's great. I mean, the verse section's great, but I think the chorus section of that song is fantastic. And those of you who try to listen to rarities and stuff, originally Mark sang the lead on the demo.
Yep.
But I think I'm looking forward. I know Mike played this live. The band played this live about what? That was the Sirens 2 tour, I think, or Sirens 1 tour. I can't remember. But it'll be nice to hear. It's Not the Same for Us played live again. And
I like the keyboard part. The melody. Yeah.
And it's a great strong vocal for Mike too, and for a live setting anyway.
Yeah, I'm not saying I don't like it.
I guess something's got to go.
Yep.
Got to make it hard choices in life.
All right, Dream Crazy.
Love it. Plus,
the one that goes for
when
you,
I got
Mikey?
the CD, I don't know if it was a CD or the cassette, because that was the extra track. I don't know which one I got first, but it was always exciting, like, yeah, it's an extra song, that's not on the regular album. I dig this song.
For me, if I had to take one song off the album, it would be this one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. Funky song.
Yeah.
Love it. Still love it. But yeah, for me, this is probably the track that would have to go.
I always put I Sleep on My Heart and Dream Crazy kind of in the same category. Like good songs, funky. They were the ones that are not on the US version,
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah,
But they're kind of up tempo. I love the way Dream Crazy starts.
It feels drumming on that. Yeah.
It's a good one. I don't know what the song's about. I have a feeling it's something PG.
Fever Dreams. No.
Yeah.
That. So, that's a okay. Boom.
Neon Love Machine.
There you go. That sizes it up perfectly.
Yeah. I put that in my yearbook for my nickname. It was
Really? Yeah.
it didn't go over well.
Oh, people didn't know what it meant. I like it. It's a good song. So now I'm already thinking like, what song would I drop? Like,
Yeah, you haven't coughed one up yet, dude.
yeah. I'm. Damn, I might be agreeing with Bob for It's Not the Same for Us. Because all the rest of well, I'm not a huge Good Man in the Storm fan, so
Come on.
yeah, I like it, but it ain't the one for me, and I know it's well
What's
loved.
wrong with you?
I mean, the bass line all day long, but what? Say it.
Well, folks, he's the contrarian.
People can't see us, but I'm shaking my head
Just
right
being
now.
honest
Yeah.
here. I mean, that wouldn't make my top 5 on the album. So, or top, you know what I'm saying? That would not.
Wow.
So, but it's not a bad song. It's not that I dislike it. I just don't like it as much as some other songs.
Right.
Well, the good news is you're wrong.
Yeah, I'll take it. I'm in the minority. I get it.
I can see the headlines now. Winston says, "Take Something About You off World Machine album." Because doesn't like Good Man in the
Yeah.
Storm.
Yeah. Do you even like this band?
I just think about all those years they never played that live, and it
Yeah.
just drove me up a wall.
Yes. Yeah. It was fantastic live. Awesome live. I can't wait to see them do it again.
Yep. I could spend an hour on it. It is. I've talked about it. It is my favorite song by them. Period.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you, Bob, on this one. This, for personal reasons, I've friends and family, and this song's really special and personal. It has a lot of meaning to them. So yeah, love it, love it, love it, love it.
And I can never even describe it. Like, to me, it's just a poignant song. Just the sound of it is poignant, and I don't know even how to explain it.
Yeah, it's probably, if you ever had to say what's the most quintessentially Level 42 song, for me, it would be "Good Man in a Storm."
Yeah, it's it needs to go in the Level 42 Hall of Fame.
Amen.
Which Winston will not attend.
I'll nominate it.
I'll visit.
It is funny that, like, we could, if each of us or any major Level 42 fan, your top 10 is going to change, your top 10 favorite songs just by the wind or time of year.
Yeah.
But for me, that's never coming off as number one. I mean,
yeah, my number one is never going to change, but 10 songs, it would be like, it's just like trying to go through all the albums. Like, give me 2 songs, build like the best ever greatest hits of your favorite band. That's going to be hard because you're going to be every album. You'll be like, I can't pick just 2. But yeah. So I guess it's not the same for us. Would be the one that I would have had to take one song off.
well, we still have 2 more.
Yeah, but those songs ain't leaving for me.
What's that?
I'm saying those 2 songs that are left,
Okay.
they stick.
All right. So you go to Coup d'etat. What strikes you about that one?
The fact that it was almost an instrumental, and I love the vocals, the sort of weird vocal effects on it,
Yep.
So that's a song that hit me right away. Like, oh, this sounds like maybe something that they possibly didn't write for this album and added vocals to it, like something. But I don't know that we've ever heard a story about that. Like, oh, this was an older thing that we wrote and we brought it back out and polished it off, kind of thing.
That is a great point, Win. I would love to know the story, the origins of that song.
Yeah, me too.
It is. It's very original.
And it definitely has that Phil. I'm assuming he wrote the vocals, of course, the lyrics rather.
It totally sounds like Phil.
That has his maybe his worldview or the stuff that like what was that other song that you guys love that?
Chant Has Begun is
the chant, right?
Yeah.
That kind of
political,
political. Yeah, I love this song. That's a keeper.
Yep.
Yeah,
Damn, I know. I just realized I'm going to hear that live.
I know. Again,
so I'm just putting this out there. If they don't record this tour, their most popular album ever, if they don't record this, I'm going to be really upset with them.
Yeah.
especially if they don't close with the return of the handsome rugged man.
Well, I'm not holding out hope for that, but
the coup d'etat. I'm with you. I love the lyrical version of the song, and I love I love the released instrumental version of that song. You hear everybody again in this song, and for me, Phil's drumming in this song is just freaking precise, sharp. It just sonically too, it just sounds incredible.
I love he has this drum fill coming out of would be the chorus if it was it's a delayed fill. Just, like, my God, that was
Phil.
Do you know what I'm talking about, Win? You know that drum fill I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And we got Gary Barnacle on this, right?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
And then we should spend a little bit of time on Lying Still, because I'll start, because when I was listening to this album a lot as a high schooler, I was pretty entranced with this song. You know, it's long, but it doesn't feel long. You don't want it to be over. And lyrically, I think it's great. I think it's Boone, if I'm recalling correctly.
Yeah.
And I think that's it's a great song to close the album out, especially the way it ends.
Yes. Yeah. Bob, I remember listening to this because I had the record before I had the cassette, the album before the cassette. So students don't do this when you're trying to do homework at night, but I would have the headsets on, playing World Machine album while I was doing my homework. And by the time I'd come to the end of my homework, Lying Still would come on. And I'm with you, Bob. It just, what a brilliant way to close the album.
Yeah.
The song, the vocals, it just, if you're just listening to it with your headphones, it's just incredible track. Incredible
it evokes
track.
a mood. Like
Yeah.
no other song.
Yeah. So, yeah, and Physical Presence did that for me too, kind of in that same way.
Well, I would say this, and I don't know if it's going to be controversial, but Lying Still beats Leaving Me Now.
Yeah, I could see that.
I really prefer.
Mikey's struggling a little bit, but
If I had to choose between those two, if one of those two had to leave, Leaving Me Now would leave.
yeah,
But
Yeah, I do.
I mean, this is like
yeah.
a wealth of when it's this hard to like pick your favorites or which one would lead. Like, because now I'm thinking, would I remove It's Not the Same for Us, or would I remove Dream Crazy? Because, well, I guess that really doesn't count because it really wasn't. It was an extra track, not on all the formats. Like it wasn't on the album itself, vinyl rather.
that's you're cheating.
Well, yeah, I'm cheating, but I would stick with It's Not the Same for Us.
Okay.
Yeah, let me shut up because I'm going to keep going.
I'm looking forward to seeing the comments on the on our Facebook page to see what our listeners would cut.
It's an actual.
After listening to this episode, they might cut us.
I know. Well, I mean, you don't want to focus on the negative, but honestly, we couldn't be more positive in the struggles we're having to actually.
Right.
Yeah, play.
And these are top drawer songs. There's not filler on here, and they cross genres in such a subtle way, from pop to rock to jazz and funk and adult contemporary, and it's just it is. I know it's not the favorite of the hardcore who came in from the beginning fans, but for me, I think it's their greatest work.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And my favorite album is the second album, Pursuit. So it being my favorite, not better than this album.
Right.
But we're going back to that's the first album I ever heard.
Yeah.
So it's always going to have that place in my heart, but this is a superior work. Yeah, if I had to pick my three favorites, Something About You, Sleep on My Heart, Lying Still.
Okay.
If I had to pick my three, you got to pick Something About You just because of the quality of the song. Good Man in the Storm, obviously, for me. And I'm really having a hard time between Lying Still and World Machine. I'll go World Machine because I'm such an up-tempo guy.
For me, it would be Something About You, World Machine.
You're really struggling.
I know, it hurts. It hurts.
Lying Still.
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah, Physical
Check with you
Presence.
tomorrow. See if
Physical Presence almost made it.
And we did not mention, the two U.S. versions of Hot Water and The Chant Has Begun.
Yeah.
I will say this. I prefer the the Hot Water on World Machine to True Colors, and I think I'm in the minority on that.
What's different?
There's a whole layer of gloss.
Yeah, it's mixed different
Okay.
instrument. Yeah, it's a little different.
Oh, interesting. So I never paid attention to that.
Well, even the intro to the song is different.
I know I bought that just to be a completist, but I probably never really listened to it because it wasn't any. I didn't realize that because you mentioned something earlier about how Mendelssohn would have thought about the resequencing or whatever, and it immediately came to mind. Oh, did they like get all these songs together and then remaster them so they sounded similar? That would be a good question. I'm curious if whether the record company just do this thing,
Right.
But obviously, if Hot Water's different, something was changed.
And I think it's different on China's Begun, too.
Yeah, that's it. That for me, well, obviously, I'm not a fan of that song.
Ooh.
But that seems like an odd choice to put here as if we're going for, because was that really a hit?
It was a very minor hit.
It was a video.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe
there's
that had
singles and
something
there's hits, right?
to do with it. Because I would think like, okay, well, you're gonna put Hot Water. I totally understand putting that on there, but if we're looking at the albums before World Machine, what other song what would you take the chant off to replace with another song that might have interest
As a single?
as a single, or not necessarily a single, because that wasn't a single in America, but I mean that you thought that would make it a much better album.
Right. So a song like True Believers could have been a single over Chant Has Begun off the True Colors album.
Right, like I would have, hell, you could have picked a song off Standing in the Light that to me would have been better suited.
I know what that one is. Out of Sight, Out of Mind. Although that was a single.
Yeah, but so, right, like, why not throw Sun Goes Down on it?
Yeah. But it's, well, I guess more time had passed, right? Because
yeah, so True Colors would be the closer album, right? To this. Well, yeah, that would be the previous album.
Yep. Well,
so
it was a live album too in between, but
oh well, yeah, but so okay, that's interesting. I don't know, like what would I put from True Colors instead of the chant?
To me, it's True Believers.
Kansas City Milkman.
It's a long single.
Well, it's not going to be a single though.
Oh, I thought you.
Think about it. They those two songs, Hot Water and the two songs they added weren't singles in America.
Hot Water was. It actually made the top 100.
That's right.
No, I thought that the singles were okay. I'm thinking of the because I'm thinking Something About You, Leaving Me Now, World Machine in the U.S. But Hot Water was a single in the U.S.?
It was actually the second single off after Something About You.
Okay.
That's why they need to keep the albums the same when they release them in any country.
Yeah, it's hard. Maybe I should clarify when there was definitely a video in the U.S. for because it was on rotation.
Right, but I don't think they released that as a single.
Well, I didn't think so either, but it did chart. I remember showing you guys last year.
Yeah, I remember that now.
So it had to have been at least a 45.
So
where's Paul Waller and Simon?
Sleeping. Does it have to be to chart? Does it have to be I guess if it's charted as a song, I guess it's not going off a radio play, so it's sales, right?
A difference between a radio single and a released single, I suppose. I don't know. Are they the same?
I don't know. All I remember was being shocked last year that Hot Water was cracked the top 100.
Yeah, I guess it was. Interesting. Yeah, like, again, I didn't pay that much attention to the U.S. version other than just buying it. But it does make sense if they were putting the video on MTV because I remember that.
Yeah.
It's just so still hard to believe, 40 years, ago that this, for many of us, a band that it's our favorite band, it's kind of when a lot of people listening to this probably became aware of Level 42. And, we obviously know the album that follows next after World Machine. And that's going to be an interesting discussion to have with you guys on, which is the better album, World Machine or Running in the Family. Because they're both very similar albums, but also very different.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to
we could settle that right now.
Let's hold it.
To be continued.
Yeah.
Right. Leave them on a cliffhanger.
But it's definitely an album that anyone from the 80s, if you're serious about 80s music, your collection better include this album that we've talked about tonight.
Well said, Mikey, and probably a good one to go out on. This was a good, quick hour.
Oh, wow.
We could spend our whole lives on this, but it's a great album, and the more said about it, the better. I'm really glad they're going to give it its proper due this year in 2025. All right, we'll wrap up. For Winston Walker, Mikey Payne, I'm Bob Considine. We are leaving you now, but we'll wait till you return. See you next time, everybody, and happy sad day.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.